Well, what do we see on that opening footage? Well, there's some stratocumulus that looks very stratified. And we see a lot of haze. So where's all that haze coming from? Well, I've got a couple charts that you might find kind of interesting. Here's a chart showing the trajectories in our area. And we can see a lot of this haze has actually originated from the southeast U.S. and possibly further north in the Ohio River Valley. Well, here's a look at where sulfates come from. The manufacturing belt, or basically what's left of it. There's a lot of processing there of steel, chemicals, things like that, all the way from Chicago out towards Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia. So whenever we get a trajectory from that part of the country and we get that recirculation, we see visibilities go down here pretty significantly. And here's another way to look at it. This is modeling from NASA. The green that you see here is sulfates and carbon. And a lot of the haze that we have stretches from the northeast across the southeast and up into Texas. So we're getting a little bit of a piece of that. And going forward in time, looks like a lot of that's going to push out into the Gulf, and then when we get that return flow around the 10th or 11th, things should start getting hazy once again. Now, another thing that's pretty cool is if you look at the red colors, we shift over to Africa, and they've got a lot of red there. The red is dust. And often during the summertime, we see a lot of that dust get carried westward into the Caribbean. There's a look at our surface patterns for today. We've got that cold core low off the California coast out in this region right here, pretty close to Los Angeles. That cold front is pushed ahead into Arizona. Looks like that's cleared Kingman and Las Vegas, and maybe a little bit of a warm front going up to Elko. Out in Texas, we've got the cold front coming through Kansas, new outbreak of cold air sweeping southward, and a little prefrontal trough there from Oklahoma City to Lubbock, but you can see the temperatures back behind it are still pretty mild. We don't get the temperature drops until we get up near the I-70 corridor right there. And of course the dry line that is pushed eastward through Tulsa, definitely through, I guess, what is that, McAllister, 51 there, and definitely through Dallas with 57 degree dew points. And the warmest temperature that we see there in Texas looks like 90s at Ardmore and Graham. So starting to look a little bit like summer there, and the hottest I'm seeing, 92 there at San Angelo and Sanderson. And out ahead of it, there's that moist air, 70s dew points coming up north. Just to correlate that with the pressure and thickness there, well, the upper level low, you can definitely make that out there in the thickness pattern. There it is, west of San Diego. And that puts the front through Baja California into Arizona. So that all looks pretty good there. And we can see the thermal ridge extending up through Texas. There it is right there, all the way up to Oklahoma City, up the I-35 corridor. And then it hits that front at around Kansas City. There it is right there. And it looks like the rest of the warm front extends into Indiana. So we'll be looking for that on the northeast U.S. surface chart. And the core of the polar air, there it is right there in Saskatchewan. There it is pushing southward, giving us lots of cold air advection there in the Dakotas and Minnesota. And in the Gulf of Alaska, a new frontal system. There it is coming south there. Warm front around Juneau, and then the occlusion north into the Anchorage area. But that'll be coming inland, probably into northern British Columbia. And that could lay down a little bit of fresh snow in Yukon and Northwest Territories and help generate some more cold air up in that area. And there's a look at the satellite picture there in Texas. A lot of erosion of the moist air. Keep in mind that the dry line runs, let me give you the correct dry line color. Yeah, it's going to run from about McAllister through Dallas down to Del Rio. So this cumulus back over Big Spring, that's all going to be elevated. The drying trend crosses even across the dry line into the moist air. So even though dew points are in the 70s in places like Mount Pleasant, Tyler, Austin, it's very shallow. And so we don't find a whole lot of low cloud up above that. So skies tend to be kind of clear in that area. And you have to go all the way out to Shreveport and Lufkin to find the cumulus and stratocumulus fields. And up above that, you can see this patchy cirrus here. Not too sure where that's from. That could be from some convection back earlier overnight in Mexico, like way out in this area here. It could also be dynamically produced there by the subtropical jet. In any case, that's going to be elevated up at about 20 to 30,000 feet and probably not going to have much effect on the weather, although I can see a little bit of what looks like maybe a little bit of Castellanus elevated cumulus there. That would be around maybe Madisonville along Interstate 45. That brings us to the southeast U.S. We don't have a whole lot going on there. A few patches of thunderstorms. Looks like one is in the southern part of the state, another cluster in central Alabama there. Looks like a couple more in western Tennessee, and then what looks like an organized MCS in eastern Kentucky. So what would be causing those? Well, the air mass is going to be pretty uncapped, but let's go to the surface chart and see what's going on. Well, there you go. I tried to draw those squall lines in the best I could. The one in Alabama seems to correspond to a trough there, but overall, it looks like there's not much synoptic support for these. They're just developing where there happens to be some instability and lift. And the surface chart is dominated by this high pressure centered in the Gulf of Mexico, giving us the southeasterly flow. And if anything, that's just bringing up moisture northward to feed these thunderstorm complexes. So probably what's helping them out is mostly the upper level shear, helping to ventilate those storms, and the good moisture we have coming up from the south there. All right, there's how things look in the northeast U.S. We've got that Bear Clinic system there in Illinois. 1002 millibar low there with a warm front moving into Ohio and Indiana. Most of the northeast U.S. dominated by this big ridge coming down from Quebec and Ontario. Still very cold up in Canada, lots of 30s and 40s up there. But we should see a little bit of warm air advection start to set in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, Ohio, as that next system approaches. And back behind it, some very gusty northwest winds there, lots of gusts up to 38 to 41 knots. It's close to 50 miles an hour just about. So they're definitely getting some wind chills in the Dakotas as that next shot of cold air comes south. There's how things look in the Pacific Northwest. Mostly dominated by this large high-pressure area coming out of Alberta, and it's kind of tied in with maybe a bit of a Pacific system there, 1030 millibars over British Columbia. And we do have a stationary front from Wyoming out towards the Rocky Mountain region of Montana, and I think that's probably dissipating due to the anticyclonic flow helping to generate divergence there at the surface, so we should see that stationary front start to dissolve here over the next day or so. So things will just be kind of mild. Lots of 60s there in Oregon, and probably not much change over the next few days. And the UK, why not? I mean, we do get viewers pretty regularly from the UK and Ireland. Looks like high pressure there, temperatures in the 50s. That'd be about 12, 13 Celsius. So it looks like anticyclonic flow there. A little bit dry, 40s dew points, and looks even drier there across Germany. I don't really see any fronts on the map. And we can do the same thing there and evaluate the air masses. There's that high pressure there covering the UK. Looks like any fronts are still well up to the north. So, yeah, there's probably a little bit of a weak front there in Scotland, around Edinburgh. So it looks like we'll go with something like that right there. And you can see the northwesterly winds back behind that cold front, and the cooler temperatures there, 30s and 40s. Temperatures right around 5 Celsius up in Scotland. And looks like our next system is lurking pretty far offshore, so that'll give the UK another day or two before things start deteriorating. So our forecast for the next couple days. For tonight, this is pretty much what we went with on the surface chart, that cold air sweeping southward into Kansas and Missouri, and things are going to be destabilizing in western Arizona. Got all that cold air aloft over Los Angeles, San Diego, and the deserts, and with that cold over warm structure there, you're going to get a lot of showers and storms. And that's what we got going on. It looks like bands all the way up towards Elko, Area 51, and Tonopah there in Nevada. For tomorrow night, it's kind of hard to tell what that Pacific system is doing. I think it has crossed over there into New Mexico. But what's really becoming dominant is that Canadian air mass. It's pushed through most of Texas there. Looks like we got a little baroclinic low off the coast of Houston there. And it's a very shallow air mass, too, because it's not making much progress onto the high plains. You can see very little progression westward. So Albuquerque and Santa Fe stuck in between the two fronts. And out over the Great Lakes, some very strong cold air advection. Looks like snow showers are back on the menu there in Buffalo and Erie. For Friday night, Texas is back in that upslope pattern. There's a dome of high pressure and the southerly flow overriding it, helping to produce some showers there in western Texas. The upper level low is out over the Arizona desert, so in between, good chances for showers. And it looks like the new outbreak of cold air from Canada is on its way south, coming into Montana there. So once again, we get back into winter with this next Alberta Clipper sweeping southeast, and we should see that come up on the Great Lakes over the weekend. So it looks like for Saturday night, that frontal boundary in Texas lifts north as a warm front. And with that strong warm air advection and that boundary there, and the upper level low, which is kind of in this area here, you can see it's kind of dying off, but it is enclosed by that thickness contour right there. So that's where it is right there. The combination of that, the warm front, the southerly flow, that's all. Yeah, plus the upper level jet, which is kind of riding like that. That's a good pattern there for storms and showers. So we're going to see a lot of that developing in Texas for Saturday. Good lee side troughing there in Colorado. You can see that 981 millibar low. And it looks like that system coming out of Montana takes more of a southward punch into Wyoming. So it looks like things go downhill once again on the interstate through Landers, Evanston. Looks like a bad situation there for Saturday night. And we do see the upper level system crossing towards the Great Lakes, but it's kind of riding over the cold dome. And we're seeing reorganization further out to the west. So this is what's going to come together next over the weekend. And what you see over the next 24 hours is you see that move eastward. There it goes. Low pressure area for Sunday morning, and then that'll hit the Great Lakes later in the day on Sunday. So we end up with a system kind of like this. Good punch of cold air coming south. We've also got this baroclinic system in the Carolinas. We saw that yesterday. That looks like almost kind of like a little tropical disturbance almost. Although, you know, that's really not what it is. It's just kind of a very potent baroclinic system. So that's going to be Sunday, bringing those rain chances up. And here comes that next high. Pushing south, good strong cold air advection. It looks like snow for Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin there. So I only intended to go about 3 days in the future, but there's so much weather going on, I had to check this out. Let's see, for Monday night, most of the systems, it looks like they're off the East Coast there. Very good occlusion up there in Ontario, 976 millibar low right there. And very good wraparound shield. I would hate to be driving on the Trans-Canada Highway around Lake Superior on Monday because it looks like it is going to be pretty brutal there. And even out in Texas, that high sticking southward, you can see the upslope developing there. Very strong easterly flow into eastern New Mexico, and that's helping to generate some snow around Roswell and Clovis. And this is in the afternoon, so you can see how cold this next outbreak is. Probably bringing 30s well south into the Panhandle. So the tail end of the front is going to be running like that, and this one looks a little bit more deep. So you can see that this is punching over the Guadalupe Mountains. Sorry, this is getting to be a mess, but yeah, there it is. It looks like it's cut over into Albuquerque and probably getting those canyon winds going along Interstate 40. And then things quiet down for Tuesday, and then just kind of running this forward. Cold week across the eastern U.S. Things trying to get going once again there in Colorado and New Mexico, Wyoming, with that next high coming south. See, there's that upslope right there. And let's see, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, no, there's no... Very snowy April here. Good grief. So, yeah, this is going to be a warm front right there. See a little baroclinic system coming together. There in the Texas Panhandle, that should move eastward. Yeah, there it goes. And Friday, Saturday, more snow for the higher terrain in New Mexico. Stormy once again next weekend, 18th. And more cold air, of course. Yeah, of course, we have to have more cold air, and here comes more. This is really kind of a crazy month here, so I'm glad you're getting to see that. Yeah, about the opening music. Let's take a look and see how we did. Well, first, let's check out the comments. Let's see. Really appreciated the focus on Europe. Thanks, Best Weather PT. Is that Portugal? Yeah, we'll try to do more of those. I find Europe to be pretty interesting, and that's where I first got my interest in weather, watching the changing weather in Germany. Missy Sowards, your forecasts really fly 20 minutes like that. Yeah, it does seem to work out that way. Fun with Tech, really good webcast. Thank you. Appreciate that. Gotta Want to Dance. Your musical choices are fine. Thanks for the comments on that. Michael O., did I see a tropical system west of Africa when you showed Europe? Good question. Well, unfortunately, that's so far back, I'm not sure what we were looking at. Cool content, bro. Thanks, Tom. Michael O., I don't care about the music. I'm down. Whatever's easiest for you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about just briefly. And Very Wise Wolfie, I wouldn't trust the GFS on this at all. Yeah, it's a good comment. Most of what I'm showing you is how to interpret the model data. We're not really addressing the accuracy very much, and that would kind of extend things. I've had to start looking at, how well the models are performing and so on and so forth. Hopefully that's an exercise you all can do. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of giving you the tools how to break this stuff apart and look at the forecast. But let's see that poll. Yeah, this is that poll I ran yesterday. I'm still trying to figure out how to pick up the results. I went ahead and chose this. Looks like we're pretty evenly split. Most people would like the song changed every night. And really, I think that's probably what I'll do. Yeah, and this is that song directory, and I have to go through here and pick out something that sounds good. About half of it sounds like pharmaceutical commercial music. The rest of it's like Audubon music, Christmas music, country music, and it can be a little bit aggravating trying to pick out a song, but we'll try our best. So I think I'll just keep, rotating things, and every week or two you might hear the same song repeating over and over, but, don't worry about it. We're just trying to keep things from, it's better than having nothing at all, that's for sure. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you all watching. I appreciate your comments, and I'm going to keep reading those. If there's things you want to see on the webcast, definitely point them out. I do want to make this interesting for you guys, so let me know. Okay, that's all I got for today. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.